how's the offseason been for Tennessee essentially? I mean, you are a week away from going into fall camp to the strength coaches are handing off the baton right now. They're about to go that last, leg of the 4x1. What's been the theme for Tennessee football right now? Where is this team? And outside of injuries, where Brent, correct me if I'm wrong, looks like Jamal McCoy is really the only big one still out there. Team's pretty healthy right now.
They do. Now we'll see. I mean, we've said that the last couple of years, and there's been a what they call them, soft tissue injury. I call them muscle pulls. They've had some late July muscle strains, so you want to be really careful and finish out this week and hand that baton off as cleanly as you can. I think for me, the theme of this offseason, my takeaway from this team this offseason is not we've worked harder than we've ever worked before and kind of the standard lines out there. My takeaway in talking to Kitzelman, talking to Arion Carter, both in media settings and just in casually, having conversation with them, walking down the hall or bumping into somebody on campus or whatever. I think my biggest takeaway is that this team was mad in April, at the end of April. They were mad at what happened and the way the way Nico left. And I think the takeaway from the leadership council and the leaders on this team was we have to get closer together. Like we have to draw closer and be a closer team. So Arion Carter has spent time going to dinner with wide receivers and offensive linemen. And he's not just in the linebacker bubble, And I think the leadership's takeaway from this, particularly in the day and age we're living in right now, where it's very easy to be about yourself with the transfer portal and you can move and all those things. There's been a real point to try to make it not about yourself, but about the bigger piece of the pie. As you mentioned, Eric, does that equate to wins? I don't know. Does it help you during adversity? Maybe. I mean, we'll see. But that's my big takeaway is that this team feels a little more united. They feel closer and talking to them. They believe that they're closer than they've been the last couple of years. Again, we'll see what that equates to. But I take more stock in that than I do the whole we've worked harder than we've ever worked deal. Because I think we all had questions, Rob, about the leadership of this football team. Because when what happens to you in April happens, somebody has to take the reins. Okay, and look, Tennessee brought who to the podium at the end of spring?
Kitzelman
and Carter. And basically at that point, whether they wanted it or not, Rob, they were anointed the alpha male of the team. One on offense, one on defense. Those were kind of the two guys. Now, they brought the quarterbacks in, but it was the two spokesmen for the team on that day were Arion Carter and Miles Kitzelman. And I think both of them have taken that to heart from a leadership standpoint. And you can hear that message in their actions and not just in what they've said. Guys hanging out, multiple position guys hanging out with each other, different things like that. I think that's been important for this team. And I think this team's leadership is better than I thought it would be because I wasn't sure what kind of team they would be from a leadership standpoint. I mean, can a tight end carry the leadership of an offense? Hard to say, but it certainly feels like Robbie's doing it right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a weird year just because from the standpoint of, a lot of weird stuff happens, in college athletics these days. But, when you're expected to have a multi-year starter, back or at least a returning starter, upperclassman back at quarterback, and you're closing spring that way, and then boom, they pull the rug out. It doesn't happen. That's a transfer portal era, specific development that just wouldn't happen 10 years ago. And so it's weird. And yeah, I mean, it started that day. And I mean, I think Kitzelman especially, I mean, Arian's a different kind of cat. He's quieter, but super intelligent. And you can tell just intense and really conscientious. But I mean, Kitzelman is older and just, you can tell he was handling that stuff in stride. And I think Arian is just, you go back and the way William Inge talked about Arian going back to last preseason. I mean, it was pretty clear, what the coaching staff, thought about Arian then. So I'm not surprised to see those two guys, stepping up. But Hubbard, you're right. It's weird to not have that be a quarterback, and especially, and that certainly could develop. I mean, as we go in. But at this point in the offseason, it's weird to not have that one of those guys be a quarterback.
And there needs to be some others emerge, right? I mean, there can be an alpha, don't get me wrong, but you got to have some help if you're trying to be a leader of a team, a leader of a unit. And, look at last year. I mean, Dylan Sampson was the vocal guy, the rah-rah guy. I mean, he was loud. I mean, you had Cooper Mason there. Everybody followed his lead. I mean, Brew McCoy was a lead-by-example type guy. None of those guys are here anymore. Now you have Miles Kitzman on the offensive end, and from a leadership standpoint, I mean, who knows? They've got to emerge. Defensively, you got a couple more. Bryson Eason, Jackson Moy, Jeremiah Tielander's been around, for a while, and some guys in the secondary as well. So it'll be interesting. But certainly, to what you said, Brent, I mean, they were, whether they wanted to or not, I mean, they didn't even play in the orange and white game. I mean, they came out there in street clothes, and they were like, all right, let's go. This is, hit me with the Nico questions. We're the spokesman for the program right now. I mean, that they kind of took that, again, that baton, I keep using that phrase, and ran with it, and they've done a really, really good job. And they did a great job at SEC Media Days. I thought
Kitzelman was extremely candid. I mean, just really candid about everything. He grew weary of the Nico stuff at the end. He was, he was walking off a podium, and I said, "Have you had enough of those questions?" And he's like, "Yeah, I've answered really all I need to answer about that, because I don't need to say anything else." He was ready to move on, and he had handled them all great the entire day, but he had been pretty clear and pretty candid about things. And I think, the interesting part for this team now is the quarterback deal. Who's going to win this job? And I think because Josh Heupel has come out and declared it an open competition, which I think it is, and it should be, it's got to go to the guy who performs the best in fall camp. And everybody can sort of prognosticate and have their favorite, and clearly there's a lot of guys on this team that like Joey Aguilar, right? I mean, he's come in and handled himself the right way, Rob, and kind of ingrained himself in the team without being this, I'm in charge type deal. But now he's got to go win it, because in covering football, college football for a long time, you can't get this decision wrong. If you get it wrong, if the team feels one way and you go another way, it ends really, really bad.
However, come on, say it. Cite the example.
Well, it's the 2005 season. I mean, listen, I like Eric Ainge, okay, but Eric Ainge got outplayed the entire fall camp. And now the difference was he was anointed by Fulmer at SEC Media Days that year. I think Fulmer's quote was something to the effect of, "He reminds me of a guy that wore 16 for us at Tennessee."
And he'd also played some really
he had won at Georgia. He had beaten Florida. Like, he had played well until he got hurt. And then Rick Clausen came in and rallied him at the end, had the big win over Texas A&M, and he believed he should be the guy. And those two guys duked it out, and everybody you talked to said Clausen played better in August. In every scrimmage, he practiced better. And because Fulmer kind of left it open-ended, even though he said that about Ainge, he kind of left it open-ended in fall camp, it created a problem with the team, because the team didn't feel like the guy who performed the best ended up being the starter. And that team in 2005 was just a mess. Great defense, but they were just talented. Super talented team, and they were just a mess. So you got to, if it's open competition, if it's true competition, as you've declared it, it has to be a true competition. You can't have a predetermined winner in an open competition, because you better make the decision based on the results, and not on what you think the results should be. Now, you can play two, right? You can go in and not declare somebody anything and play two. But if you declare a starter and somebody is your guy, they better be the guy that won the job, so to speak. Now, in 92, Heath Schuler and Jerry Colquitt duked it out in fall camp. And in a lot of ways, Jerry was better in scrimmages and better in his decision-making. So Tennessee made the decision, we're going to go in and play two early in the season. Colquitt threw more passes in the opener against Robert Peace's dad's team than Heath Schuler did. And in that Georgia game that I wrote about, Jerry played 2 series by design in the second quarter. They were rotating quarterbacks until the half, and then Heath won it on the field at that point. And he had the whole team behind him. And that competition took care of itself based on the results in game. You can go about it that way, or you can declare it early. And if you declare it early, you better declare it with the guy who actually won the job.